what theaters look like across the world, and it just keeps getting worse. The memes. Let's say that you were in a Hollywood movie, and the trailer for that movie dropped on YouTube, and it instantly became the #1 most downvoted trailer in the history of the platform.
See the other side. What's the dwarf?
Dwarf refers to a person with one of several varieties of a specific genetic condition called dwarfism. A dwarf has disproportionate body.
Once upon a time, Disney announced a live-action remake of Snow White, expecting to sprinkle some pixie dust on their box office returns. Instead, they got a poison apple of epic proportions. What was meant to be a nostalgic reimagining of the 1937 classic turned into one of Disney's most talked-about disasters. From Rachel Zegler's controversial comments to the film's underwhelming performance, Snow White became a masterclass in how not to handle a beloved franchise.
Dated and how Rachel Zegler disrespected the original and a classic from Walt Disney, something that completely saved Disney and changed the company and changed animation in general. Disney desperately tried to do a PR spin job in the final months to make it look like Rachel Zegler is actually likable. It ultimately was a complete failure.
Disney's... Grab your popcorn, or maybe a cauldron of something stronger, as we dive into this fairy tale gone wrong. From the moment Snow White was announced, Disney fans were suspicious. After all, live-action remakes have been hit or miss, mostly miss. While The Lion King and Aladdin managed to make bank despite their flaws, other remakes Mulan were looking at you were slammed for missing the magic that made their animated counterparts timeless. But this time, it wasn't just about whether the movie would recapture the fairy tale charm. Snow White became a battleground before it even hit theaters. From creative changes to casting choices, controversy followed like a shadow. And then came the first whispers of trouble. Rachel Zegler, cast as the titular princess, had a lot to say about the original film.
Celebrating herself by posting that she's in the #1 movie in the world, which is a remarkable thing to post when you are the laughingstock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
Disney
are, of course, entirely empty. Do understand that having people buy tickets is an important part of success in your industry.
And let's just say, Disney's PR team probably needed a long vacation after her interviews. When Zegler first spoke about the 1937 Snow White, she didn't just express excitement about playing the role. She went full warrior mode against the original. She called it outdated, implied that Prince Charming was some sort of medieval stalker, and made it clear that this new version would not be about waiting for true love. In a time when nostalgia is a major selling point, her comments were the equivalent of telling Star Wars fans that lightsabers are overrated. The internet, being the internet, did not take kindly to this. Suddenly, the lead actress of Snow White was publicly bashing Snow White, a marketing strategy as effective as using a sieve to hold water. Social media exploded. Fans questioned why Disney even bothered remaking a classic if the stars seemed to have nothing but disdain for it. Memes, tweets, and reaction videos flooded timelines, and the discourse became more intense than the final battle in Endgame.
It's actually so bad that Rachel Zegler decided to post a video of herself in a theater. Maybe I think she bought that ticket right there.
Beyond those,
film herself in a theater, totally empty, giggling, tee-hee-heeing with total glee.
some defended Zegler, praising her for wanting to modernize the story. Others, however, saw her comments as dismissive, disrespectful, and unnecessary. After all, no one expected a direct copy of the 1937 film. But did the original Snow White really need to be treated like a problematic relic of the past? To make matters worse, Disney remained silent for a long time, failing to control the narrative. The backlash only grew, and before long, Snow White was no longer just a movie. It was a debate about Hollywood's obsession with fixing classics that many people didn't think were broken.
The greatest Disney box office bomb in the history of Disney live-action remakes, but certainly also the end of her career, of total stupidity and narcissism. Look at the bliss. On some level, it's got to be a blessing to just be so smooth-brained.
Now, with so much controversy surrounding the film, the big question remains, can Snow White rise above the negativity, or has the curse already sealed its fate? Disney, sensing the growing anger, did what any company does when facing a PR crisis: damage control. They scrambled to reframe Rachel Zegler's statements, emphasizing the film's modern update and progressive storytelling. But when your lead actress is out there comparing the classic film to a relic from the Stone Age, that's a tough sell. The more Disney tried to explain, the worse it got. Fans weren't just frustrated, they were furious. It wasn't just about nostalgia, it was about respect for the source material. People grew tired of Hollywood's habit of reinventing beloved classics while simultaneously dismissing everything that made them timeless in the first place. And then things got even messier. Leaked set photos revealed a drastic change. The iconic Seven Dwarfs had been replaced with an odd mix of CGI and non-dwarf actors. Fans and critics alike were baffled. The original characters, who had been a defining part of Snow White's identity for nearly a century, were now an unrecognizable group of magical creatures. The backlash was immediate. If Snow White wasn't Snow White, then what exactly was it? Suddenly, the film wasn't just dealing with online outrage. It had become a full-blown industry scandal. Critics questioned Disney's decision-making, accusing them of trying to please everyone but satisfying no one. Social media, already a wildfire of controversy, exploded once again. Memes mocked the changes, influencers dissected every leaked image, and soon, Snow White wasn't a movie. It was a cautionary tale of what happens when a studio underestimates its audience. By the time Snow White finally hit theaters, the damage was already done. The film's release was about as exciting as a nap after eating a poisoned apple. Critics tore it apart. They called it soulless, uninspired, and confused about what it wanted to be. The writing felt bland, the visuals were inconsistent, and the tone was all over the place. One moment, the movie tried to be whimsical. The next, it felt like a political lecture. There was no balance, no charm, and worst of all, no magic. Audiences responded the only way that mattered. They stayed home. Snow White became one of Disney's biggest financial disasters in recent memory. The film barely made a dent at the box office, flopping harder than any fairy tale prince could ever hope to save. What was supposed to be a triumphant modern reimagining turned into an embarrassing chapter in Disney's live-action remake history. As the dust settled, rumors swirled that Disney had quietly distanced itself from Rachel Zegler. Allegedly, she had been in consideration for roles in Toy Story 5 and a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, but those plans were scrapped. Was it because of the controversy? The box office disaster? Or was it just another case of Hollywood politics? No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain: Disney was eager to move on. The Snow White remake had started as a bold attempt to modernize a classic, but it ended as a lesson in what happens when a studio loses touch with its audience. Not all fairy tales have happy endings, and in this case, the magic mirror had spoken. Snow White had become Disney's most cursed remake yet. The Snow White fiasco wasn't just about one film. It was a symptom of a much larger problem. For years, Disney has been accused of prioritizing social messaging over storytelling. While meaningful themes and modern updates are welcome, they should never come at the expense of compelling narratives. It's a delicate balance, one that Disney seems to be struggling with. Instead of crafting organic, heartfelt stories that resonate with audiences, many of their recent projects feel more like corporate checklists. The magic that once defined Disney classics has been overshadowed by forced dialogue, heavy-handed themes, and a growing disconnect between the studio and its audience. It's not about resisting change. It's about making changes that make sense. As for Rachel Zegler, her future in Hollywood remains uncertain. The internet may have turned against her for now, but redemption arcs are Hollywood's specialty. If she can land a role that highlights her acting talent without alienating half the internet, she might just bounce back stronger than ever. In the end, Snow White wasn't a fairy tale. It was a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the biggest studios can stumble when they lose sight of why people fell in love with their stories in the first place. Will Disney learn from this? Only time will tell. But if history has taught us anything, it's that Hollywood is always one remake away from its next big controversy. So, until the next disastrous reimagining hits the screen, we bid this chapter of Disney history a dramatic, meme-filled farewell. Disney's Snow White remake serves as a cautionary tale about Hollywood's reimaginings. Fans continue to debate its impact, questioning Disney's creative direction. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on Hollywood's biggest hits and misses.